Story 1. I have an 8-year-old nephew, let's call him Matteo, whom I love with all my heart. He is my older cousin's son. She's 27 years old, let's call her Camilla. I've never had a close relationship with Camilla due to our age gap, but I love Matteo dearly. Camilla always lets us hang out, and I even took him on vacation to Rio Negro last winter. Matteo sees me as his fun aunt, and we always text each other. Camilla got pregnant at the age of 17 and gave birth when she was 18. Of course, this became a recurring topic of conversation between Mia's parents. For context, check my other posts. They would talk about how she was a disappointment, how she was going to be a terrible mother, how the whole family was let down by her, and, as usual, they would compare her to their perfect daughter, who was growing up to be a successful woman while both of her cousins were supposedly destined to fail. Back then, Mia and I were 13 years old. I won't lie, I wasn't exactly thrilled about my cousin complicating her life by having a baby at such a young age, especially with a man who already had 2 children he neither visited nor cared for, let alone acknowledged as his own. Sadly, my nephew wasn't an exception to this. However, we never gave up on Camilla or saw her as a failure. Despite all the negativity, Camilla was able to open her own beauty salon a few years later. Now, she is married to a man who was once an old friend of hers, and together they are moving to Europe this year. We helped her as much as we could, and she didn't waste her opportunities. She turned her life around. She simply made a mistake, as any troubled teenager might, but that didn't define her as a failure. Mia always disliked Matteo. She dislikes children in general, and she was especially cruel to Camilla because of her pregnancy. She never missed a chance to call her a failure or mock her for being a single mother at the time. Once, she even told me I would end up just like Camilla simply because of my high school grades. A few months ago, we had a conversation about family and marriage. I told Mia that I wanted to get married and have at least 2 children in the future. True to her usual attitude of feeling superior to everyone else, she told me my life plan was ridiculous and criticized me for wanting what she considered a mediocre life. She also mocked me for not even having a boyfriend to marry, and then she went on about how children were a useless waste of resources and time. I think she was projecting here. She proudly declared that she would never have children or get married because, in her words, "Why would I want to take care of a grown man?" I had to bite my tongue to keep myself from reminding her that she was already looking after an irresponsible boyfriend. Then, she took it a step further and said that if she ever got pregnant, she would terminate the pregnancy because she wasn't willing to ruin her life the way Camilla did. Well, as you can probably guess, Mia ended up thinking she was pregnant, or so we thought. One morning, she came to me in tears and confessed that she hadn't used protection with her boyfriend once, and that she had missed her period. I froze and asked if she had even seen a doctor to confirm it. She told me she had already made an appointment. Then, I asked what she planned to do if the result was positive. Without hesitation, she told me she was going to terminate the pregnancy. I didn't like her response, but I kept my feelings to myself and simply said, "Okay." She didn't appreciate my neutral reaction and pressed me for my opinion on her decision. I tried my best not to be harsh and told her that my opinion on her pregnancy didn't matter. But she kept pushing, so I finally told her that I didn't support her choice in this situation. She was furious. She called me a pathetic, old-fashioned person, which I am not, and accused me of wanting her to become a failure, just like me, by ruining her future with a child. She even referred to the baby as a burden while, ironically, she was unemployed and already neglecting her university studies. Imagine calling the person who literally provides you with food and shelter a failure. I calmly told her that she could do whatever she wanted with her pregnancy, but I wasn't going to give her money or emotional support to terminate it. I wasn't kicking her out if she went through with it, nor was I trying to manipulate her into keeping the baby. I just wasn't willing to contribute financially to something I didn't support. However, I would have been completely willing to help if she decided to keep the baby. That's when I got really upset and told her to go ask her boyfriend for money if she truly wanted to go through with it. I made it clear that I wasn't going to pay for her irresponsibility. And then she had the audacity to tell me that she didn't want to bother her boyfriend with this. At that point, I was too frustrated to hold back. I told her, rather bluntly, that using protection would have been a lot cheaper than dealing with the consequences now. That made her burst into tears, and she called me manipulative and heartless. Apparently, she ran straight to my mother and told her everything, because later, I was scolded for being too harsh on Mia when she was going through such a stressful time in her life. Luckily for the non-existent baby, and for Mia, I suppose, she wasn't actually pregnant. Even fate seemed to agree that she was not meant to be a parent. Edit. To clarify, this happened a few months ago. Mia is no longer in my life since she stole items worth $400 from me the night our grandmother passed away. And yes, I know that Mateo isn't technically my nephew, but that doesn't change how much I love him. Story 2. Until I sought therapy last year, I wondered for my whole life if my concerns were valid. I wrote a list of 95 reasons why I dislike her, which I condensed for Reddit. I will not reveal my exact age, but I am a female in my mid-20s, and my mother is in her late 50s. There are many details I am leaving out as well, so in the event my family read this, they wouldn't know it's me. I trimmed this down multiple times, and there's a lot of missing information. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Regarding my brother. I have a brother a few years older than me. As a child, I noticed he was always prioritized over me during family conversations or dinners. Due to my brother's poor life decisions, my parents' lives will always revolve around his issues more than mine. My mother also treated us differently. When I got glasses, my mother was upset because I no longer fit her family's beauty standards. I was not allowed to wear glasses in photos, but my brother was. She also let him watch R-rated movies at an earlier age than me. Let him smoke weed. She was upset when I said I did, and doesn't bat an eye when he skips church, while she gets upset when I do. She would pick up my brother from school if he had a headache, but forced me to go to school when I was sick with an autoimmune disease. Beginning in 2nd grade, I had to help Mom do every job she ever had. She always acted incapable. I think she is. She's quite stupid. My brother never had to help her. Mom always knew I was more responsible than my brother, yet she is against me moving in with my fiancé before marriage. My brother got to move in with his girlfriend, and Mom didn't seem to mind. I mentioned earlier about my brother's poor life decisions. She always pushed his problems onto my dad, who now has anxiety. Lastly, she failed to recognize the codependency issues between her and her son, which mirror her own mom and brother. Relationships. Mom has always had a very tense relationship with her toxic mother. Those issues were not addressed properly before she had to move in with us. Mom has never sought counseling for any of her family troubles. My mother attempts to portray her family as this good Christian family, but we are far from it. Meanwhile, her marriage to my dad has never been one I've looked up to. The relationship has always felt tense and awkward. Mom doesn't seem to appreciate Dad for providing for the family for their entire marriage or for dealing with their son. She loves to bitch at him for little things. Toxic behaviors. Man, this is a long one. When I sought counseling last year, she insincerely apologized for everything she's ever done to me. She failed to recognize my autistic symptoms, and I had to pester her for about a year before she took me to get a diagnosis as a high school senior. I've always felt like she relied on me for happiness. She has expressed jealousy of my talents and tries to live vicariously through her children. She is easily set off, and I always had to watch what I said around her to avoid a hissy fit. Until I went to college, I felt like I had to revolve every decision around her. She would fake emotions to make me feel worse about things I did, and she openly admitted to doing that to her students multiple times. My mother overworked me in elementary school, as I had to help her with her job after school. Then I had other extracurriculars after that. She wondered why I was falling behind in math, and actually blamed my teacher for it. She also frequently picked me up from school during math time whenever my brother wasn't feeling well. When I didn't have friends, she manipulated me into thinking my classmates were the problem, when it was really me. She does not understand boundaries and gets upset when my brother and I politely try to set them. She cites that she is in her 50s and knows more than we do about boundaries. Anytime anyone tries to criticize her, she shuts them down and defends herself. She is also incredibly lazy. There have been times where she gaslit me into believing I did things I never did. To this day, she still views me as a teenager, even though she acts like one herself. She lacks awareness of her emotions, which is why she quickly escalates serious conversations. Views. Despite claiming to love gay people, she did not believe or accept my bisexuality. She has expressed negative views of other religions, often in front of my friends. She would not accept my Buddhism, nor would she want to be educated about it. She is transphobic, xenophobic, and openly sexist. Despite her constantly speaking out against other groups of people, her daughter is unknowingly a Buddhist, and her son has all kinds of issues. She is a right-wing ideologist and Christian nationalist. Despite being an educator, she voted for Trump. She wonders why her friends stopped talking to her. I know she is going to try and indoctrinate her grandson, which is one of the many, many reasons I don't want children. Hypocrisy. Anytime her job assigned something she didn't want to do, she gave up and quit, even though she always told her children to never give up. She is fine with me having sex with my fiancé, but not okay with us living together. She spends hours watching TV every night, yet she claims she doesn't have time to clean out her house, which is a hidden hoarder situation. She says she's easygoing and flexible, but she really isn't. I could go on. Lifestyle. My mother has never had good eating habits, and she always gains back the weight she loses. She won't exercise because she dislikes sweating. Her lack of exercise now is being reflected in her difficulty to move around. She went from being stronger than most men to the laziest person I know. She has also turned our family home into a storage unit. She constantly buys stuff off Amazon, and she rarely gets rid of anything. Mom blames Dad for not being able to throw anything away, but she is the problem. If Dad and I had the choice, our house would be rid of all her junk. Yes, this is long, but I needed to get this off my chest. Recently my friend admitted she disliked my mother, and she always had. I was so happy to hear someone else say it. I wondered if strangers on the internet wouldn't like her either. Similar to Jeanette McCurdy, I could write an entire book about my mother. I will be moving out this summer, as soon as I secure my next job. Soon, I can put all this behind me. Story 3. My friend Idris recently shared this unbelievable story from his first job, and I'm still in disbelief. Idris was 17 when he started working at a rundown call center. Back home, he had a whole flock of geese in his yard. He was obsessed with them, treating them like pets. His favorite was named Blinchik, which means pancake in Russian. To keep his spirits up in that depressing workplace, he brought a small wallet-sized photo of Blinchik to work. However, his boss, Dave, saw the picture and completely lost it. Dave had a strict rule: no personal items on your desk. It's about professionalism. Meanwhile, his own desk was a complete mess. Old coffee mugs, random figurines, and even a rusty fish statue cluttered his space. Idris noticed that Dave had some strange habits. He would switch from passive-aggressive whispers to overly friendly tones in an instant. The man was an oddball, to say the least. One day, Dave noticed the goose photo and went into a rage. He forced Idris to tear it up in front of everyone, muttering about rule-breaking. At just 17 years old, Idris had no idea how to stand up for himself. He froze and followed orders, shredding the picture while trying not to show any emotion. He later admitted that he nearly cried, but held it together so he wouldn't appear weak in front of his coworkers. As the pieces of the photo hit the trash, Dave smirked like he had just won a battle. But Idris wasn't going to let it slide. If Dave wanted him to obey the rules, he would take things to the extreme. The next day, Idris showed up to work with absolutely nothing: no pen, no notepad, no headset. When Dave asked him what was going on, Idris calmly replied, "You said no personal items. I'm waiting for the company to provide everything I need." Dave was furious, but Idris stood his ground. It's your rule, he reminded him. The rest of the team caught on and decided to join, and half of them stopped bringing their own supplies, and soon the entire operation fell apart. Calls were dropping, customers were getting frustrated, and Dave was running around in a panic, trying to get things back to normal. Eventually, he had no choice but to backpedal. With an exasperated sigh, he muttered, "Fine, bring what you need, just keep it subtle." The next day, Idris returned with a fresh photo of Blinchik and placed it on his desk. This time, Dave didn't say a word. But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks later, Dave tried to fire Idris for insubordination. By this time, Idris had learned a few things. He had recorded the entire "no personal items" rant on his phone, which was legal in their location, and sent it to the Human Resources Department along with a detailed explanation of Dave's hypocrisy. Human Resources didn't fire Dave, but they did give him a formal warning, which forced him to ease up. However, the real twist was yet to come. It turned out that Dave had been quietly stealing money from the office's petty cash box for years, small amounts at a time, but consistently. Idris later realized that Dave's obsession with enforcing random rules was just a way to keep everyone stressed and distracted from his shady dealings. Dave would take money from the cash box, claiming it was for coffee, office supplies, or miscellaneous expenses. Over time, the amount added up significantly, though no one knew the exact figure. His bizarre combination of passive-aggressive behavior and extreme strictness kept new employees, like Idris, too intimidated to question anything. The dramatic reaction over the goose photo? Idris now believes it was just another distraction tactic to keep people from noticing his real scheme. Dave's downfall finally came when a senior coworker noticed discrepancies in the office expense records. After some investigation, management discovered the theft, and Dave was fired. Not long after, legal action was taken against him. Idris still can't believe that by simply playing along with Dave's ridiculous rules, he unintentionally helped take down a corrupt boss. Meanwhile, Blinchik is still happily roaming the yard with the rest of the geese, honking at anyone who dares step too close. So, what's the verdict? Did Idris achieve the ultimate payback? Story 4. This story is a little long, but still funny. So, my sister, my parents, and I were biking around our neighborhood. It was in summer, and it was getting close to nighttime, so we all turned our lights on, except for me, because I had trouble balancing with one hand when I was on a moving bike. So Karen shows up in front of her porch and says, "Excuse me." My parents were too far ahead to hear. "Yes," I answered her. "You need to turn your light on, sweetheart. It's getting dark." "Oh, yes, I was actually going to do it right now. You see, I can't balance on a moving bike all that well, so I had to stop for that." Karen suddenly raises her voice from nice to Jurassic World T-Rex. "Sure thing. You, young people, are full of lies these days." "And how is that? If you can't balance on your bike while it's moving, why are you alone, huh?" I try to remain calm, even though I have a short temper. "Oh, actually, my family." She cuts me off and says, "Don't you lie to me, young man. You teenagers are so stupid." I am 12, but I look more like 13 or 14 years old. "Excuse you. You know you shouldn't yell at complete strangers like that, right?" Karen is shocked by my response. My family came back because they realized I wasn't following. I pull out my phone and tell the family to wait. This is going to be interesting. "Excuse me, I am talking to you." "You know what?" She runs towards me and reaches for the phone. "I'm going to teach you some manners." It is important to note that I was in front of a fountain. I moved out of the way as soon as she almost dived for my phone, and she fell into the fountain. It's over, right? Wrong. Fast forward 20 minutes later, I tell my parents and sister the story, and we see a car, Karen's car, speed right in front of us. We are saying the person driving the car is crazy, and we get home. Minutes later, we hear the doorbell ring. Once, twice, thrice, until I got tired of it and I went to see who it was. And surprise, surprise, it was Karen. So this psycho had sped past us and waited for us to get home. I was creeped out, So I went into my room, got the most painful Nerf blaster I have, and went to the door. You're the one who pushed me into the fountain. I'm gonna make you pay for that. I pull out the Nerf. Are you sure about that? She yells, Are you trying to assault me? Well, did you follow me and my family home? She was shocked, and she did not know that I had called the police. The police arrived seconds later. All right, what is going on here? The police asked. This lady harassed me in front of her house, sped past my family, and followed us to our house. Officer, don't believe him. He pushed me into a fountain and left snickering. When I tried to talk to his parents about his behavior, he opened the door and shot me with those toy guns. Sir, did you shoot this woman with a toy gun? No, sir, because as you can see, my charger is still full. I only brought it here in case of possible assault. Do you have any proof, ma'am? No. I do. We have cameras around our property, and she sped past ours. Well, let's see it then. Karen was pale, and she shut up. Finally, the officer checks the footage, and Karen was something like 40 miles per hour over the speed limit. Do you want to press charges? Oh boy, do I. Yes, please. So I had to go to her trial 2 days ago, and she got 2 years in prison as she was charged for a few things: assault, speed, fake police report, etc. Story 5. This story begins almost a year ago. I received a call from an unknown number on my cell phone. It was an automated message to call an 888 number in regards to serving me papers. I knew right away this may have been a collection agency. Googled the number and confirmed it. Now I have to disclose I did have identity theft almost 20 years ago. To this day, I occasionally get calls from collection agencies trying to collect on some debt from 20 plus years ago that was cleared. Now most of the time when I get these calls, I ask for their address to send in a dispute letter, including the accompanying data for proof that I had identity theft. Granted, they should not be calling me, but they apologize and I don't get another call. Plus, they usually mail me back and say they closed the account. Well, I went to call this person, and I gotta say the call was interesting. This woman answered, and I gave her my information. She started rattling off a debt that was back in 1995. I let her finish, and I told her that I had no knowledge and there was identity theft. And as soon as I said that, she freaked out. She kept saying she knew the debt was mine and I'm going to pay. I kept telling her that I wanted to mail a letter, but she flat out refused. When I told her I knew my rights, she said that I had the right to pay the debt. She then said that she is going to put a lien on my huge pretty house, her words, and she was describing the house to the letter. She also said she is going to put a lien on my Lexus that she sees in the driveway, and she said that my gate in the front won't stop the repossession. She then hung up. Now I knew better. All she did was get my info from public records and then saw my house on Google Street View. My guess is that she tried to push this intimidation on other people that know better. So far it appeared to be a very disreputable company. I also had phone recordings when I called in, and they were legal as I asked her if phone calls can be recorded for quality control purposes. She said of course. And I said, thank you, I'll take that as my consent. I would have just let this go and just say this lady was crazy. But I kept getting the automated phone calls, and I couldn't block them as they were unknown. I Googled the company, and I thought they were in Ohio. A couple of flags that led me to believe this was that the person who owned this company in Ohio was being indicted with charges, who was an attorney. I placed a complaint with the Ohio Attorney General. They couldn't find any information on what I was submitting. They did call the phone number I gave them, and the Attorney General told me they would stop from calling me. But that is all the Attorney General could do. I also complained to the Federal Consumer Finance Bureau, who is supposed to be looking into these issues. But they blew me off. Well, 3 months later, I called this number. I had an idea of maybe pressing buttons when I called in to see if I could get more information about the company through the IVR. Well, that paid off. As soon as I pressed 0, I got a different company name. I Googled that company and got tons of complaints. This led me to the company existing in NY. I complained to the Attorney General of NY with all of my info. I did quite a bit of research over the next couple of weeks and found out a whole bunch of information, such as the owner. Found out that the address where the company no longer received mail was at the owner's address, their Facebook account, etc. I then got another one of those unknown phone calls. But this time, it's a different company. I'm sure you get what I am getting at. The company just keeps changing the name, but the parent company still calls. I finally had enough of this. I got a private investigator involved, and they were quite satisfied with all the information I got so far, so I let him do his business. Well, he calls me back saying that this company isn't even registered, and it's run by this one lady. I find out the rude lady whom I am talking to is the supposed owner, but not running a legitimate business. I got a process server to file a claim in NY. Granted, I think I could have done it where I was at, but I was heading up to that area in NY anyway, as I had some family reasonably close. Problem was she was not able to be served. The house which she owned, she was not able to be served at. Either she was not there or was staying somewhere else. Well, my private investigator started sending out friend requests to her and the people in her friends lists. Well, her friends, and then she accepted the Facebook request. My private investigator found out that she cheated on her boyfriend about a month ago since she posted that nonsense. The private investigator gave me an idea of trying to reach her boyfriend, and if he can lead us to serve her, I will give him $500. Well, we did that, and sure enough, we were finally able to serve this lady at her parents' house about 20 miles from where she was at. I fly up to NY, and since it's small claims, it's just me and this lady. For some reason her mother is there too, but she is not representing. I give the judge all of my info I had over the months and how she broke the law. She broke debt collection laws and threats over the phone. After the judge heard all the trouble I had with these calls and how she hid her identity purposely, the judge gave me the maximum amount of $3,000. In NY, small towns and villages are limited to $3,000. After the case, I heard her mother loudly whispering, but I heard it. "You better hope he doesn't take your house. Your great-grandfather built this with his own bare hands." I was thinking, it would be sweet revenge if I could actually put a lien on the house. Well, lo and behold, I found out the house had a second mortgage attached to it. With the property value of the house, and if it sold, I wouldn't end up getting the lien money since the secondary mortgage was almost as much as the house. I was then contemplating how I was going to get the money from this lady. My private investigator called me 5 months later and said her house is going into foreclosure. I got a proxy to bid for me, but as in most foreclosure actions, the bank buys it back as in Rio. I decided to send in a low-ball offer to buy the house a couple of months later. The bank accepted my offer. My guess is that it's a small town and trying to get the right market was an issue. You may be wondering why I even bought this house. Well, here's why. This woman threatened to put a lien on my house with no merit. Well, guess what? I freaking took her house. It was completely worth it. It didn't cost me too much and I had the money. The house is actually in decent shape, just a little small. Plus, it will be a nice summer home when I go to visit my relatives. Oh, and I decided to rub salt on the wound. I sent a letter to her parents' address, letting them know I took the house. I told them that if her daughter wouldn't be in the business of scamming people, they may not have lost the house. I also go to find out that the Attorney General of NY is now investigating this lady. I hope they throw the book at her. Not going to mention the collection agency, but if you stopped getting phone calls from them, you're welcome. Story 6. This past summer, I took my family up to a lake house for a much-needed vacation in northern Ontario. The area is way out in the boonies. The nearest town is a 60 minutes drive. But there is a marina within a 5 minutes drive from the rental. They sell the basic fishing gear, snacks, and alcohol. I thought it would be a nice idea to go over to the store and pick some snacks and wine up for dinner, and asked my daughter if she wanted to come, and she did. Well, just an info, she's adopted, therefore we are different races. I'm a super tiny Asian woman, she's 13 and Caucasian and about 10 inches taller than me. Not relevant, but seriously 13 and taller than me. I pick out some snacks and several bottles of wine and go to pay, and there's a young kid there like between 8-10 who calls for his mom. She scans my stuff and asks for my driver's license, and when I give it to her, she glances at it and just laughs and says, "Yeah, right," and throws it back to me. At this point I am confused. Well, she accused me of being a young teenager trying to get wine. I then say, "I am almost 30, and roll up my sleeves. I am covered in tattoos." This woman was so rude that I can't even put it into text how rude she was with her attitude, tone, body language, and she literally flicked my driver's license at me with her 2 fingers. She even said she's not selling booze to a dumb kid like me. I tell my daughter to go to the car to get my book in the glove box, passport, health card, credit cards. I show them and I get a whatever. I told her it's not fake, and I was met with, "A driver's license is meant to drive with and get gas. It's not so you can buy alcohol," and was told to learn the laws that I can only use it when I buy gas here. This was a complete and total lie. It's meant as a license to drive and photo identification, at least in Ontario, and whatever else. When I got to my car, I saw the single gas pump with the sign "Pull up and wait for the attendant at the pump." Well, I thought to myself, fine, if I can only buy gas here with my license, that's what I will do. The pump is a 30-45 seconds walk from the shop. I pull up and wait. She comes, and you can see her face is so angry that she has to still help me. With a smile, I ask for $2 in gas. I hand her a $2 coin with my driver's license because you know you need one to pay for gas. I get my gas and leave, just to turn around and do it again. You can see the rage in her eyes. Well, yeah, we stayed for 2 weeks. This was our last 3 days there, so I went back every day and asked for $2 in gas. She was not happy. 10 tenths would do again. Edit. In Canada, you do not have the right to refuse service. It is illegal to refuse service to anyone for age, race, religion, etc. Not so much the age thing and age-restricted products. But because of the area, I am confident that she didn't want to serve me because of the race thing and was just looking for a way so she didn't have to.